Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. Bitcoin back up in the $97,000 US range. We're going to be talking about this recent price action, what it means for the miners, in addition to April production results from DMG Blockchain. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below what you thought about April results so far and your top pick in the mining sector going forward. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Well, here we go, Anthony. Wednesday morning, hump day. Bitcoin having a little bit of a rally overnight. We're now close to $97,000, just shy, I think 96,800 and change currently. Showing some strength for the miners, a little bit of a mixed bag. We've got some of the smaller miners once again up today. Gryphon, we can talk about in a second here. We've got production report out from DMG and a number of metrics and tables that we wanted to talk about in today's presentation, really discussing the Bitcoin mining sector as a whole or in general here, Anthony.
Yeah, Bitcoin's holding that line slightly up above the trend we've seen recently, 93 to 95. So it hit 97 today, hovering probably just slightly under as we're speaking at the moment. Mining stocks, bit of a mixed bag. We've got half in the green, half in the red. But actually, you're right. Gryphon Mining up 9.37% today. And if you take that one step further and look at their position where they are in terms of from a monthly basis, they're up 200% in the last month. So, by far, the share that's outperformed everything else. When you consider, the larger miners out there, probably averaging, I'm going to say around about 20% in the last month. Gryphon up 200%, Soluna up 63%. Now, if you go from the year to date, remember we've said on previous podcasts, no miner's actually green year to date. Well, actually, Gryphon turned green today, so up 5%. Maybe they've got something in the secret sauce over there working, but share price has pulled back nicely. I mean, it was on a downward trajectory for most of 2024 and into 2025, so it does have a long way. If you look at the last chart. There it says percentage from 52-week high. It's still 328% away from its 52-week high. But looking where it is from its low, you can see 223% away from its low. So it's performing okay at the moment, and some people are obviously paying attention to that. And when we come on to the competition towards the end of the podcast, you'll understand why.
Most definitely. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple timing considerations here, Anthony. We've talked about cycle timing in general with Bitcoin, obviously a 4-year cycle. Bitcoin proxies performing at different points within that cycle. MicroStrategy last year was obviously the darling, now known as Strategy. We've talked about the fact that early stages during a bull cycle, when Bitcoin price is still depressed, obviously it's a lot cheaper, more economical to buy Bitcoin as opposed to mine it. However, later in the cycle, where we feel like we're heading next, as Bitcoin price appreciates, the mining metrics or the cost to mine actually start to look very attractive. We've talked about that with some of the margins we've started to see in Q1 here, Anthony. On the other side of the timing spectrum, we have within the mining sector itself. And this is where I wanted to spend a little bit of time discussing. Last year, we saw IREN have a great run. We saw CleanSpark, a tremendous run up in excess of $24. Bitdeer had a phenomenal Q4. Now we're talking about some of these smaller miners. So interesting to see, despite they all operate in the same sector, essentially very similar business models having very different performance, volatility metrics throughout the year here or the past 18 months.
Yeah, and the big miners who've grown their hash rate, gained a lot of momentum last year. You've mentioned, IREN, you mentioned CleanSpark, Marathon and Riot, who predominantly been in that sort of like top tier bracket for the last 4 years in terms of growing hash rate. But we're seeing CleanSpark, go past Riot, heading towards Marathon's target. IREN not far behind. Both of those companies going to be 50 exahash by the end of June. So they've been given that recognition from the stock markets itself. But then you've got a lot of the smaller miners, or that mid-tier miners who've really, if you haven't reached targets or grown hash rate, you were given no credit whatsoever. And we've seen the likes of, DMG share price drop. We've seen Soluna. We've seen Gryphon. We've seen also some of the other miners out there, Digital, Hive, Bitfarms. Their share price hasn't, energized in a way that some of the bigger stocks did in 2024. But what you're seeing now is maybe some shareholders coming in and seeing if there's any value plays out there. And remember, we talked about, the market capitalization of Soluna was under $10 million. It's still hovering around that sort of $8 to $9 million now. Gryphon was around about, just over $10 million. That's now heading towards $30 with that great run in the last month there. But their market capitalization was significantly higher in 2024 when it reached its high there. So, maybe some shareholders looking for value plays, maybe stepping away from some of the bigger stocks that, again, the bigger stocks haven't really performed. I mean, we look at some of those market capitalizations for Riot and Mara back in 2021, they achieved $8 billion then. And today, you're looking at 4 billion and 3 billion respectively for those two companies, with massive amounts more of hash rate and energy than they had in 2021. So it's a challenging time for miners. It's there's not many miners going to come out of Q1 with a positive net position in terms of net profit. We're going to have a few miners on the interview in the next week or so, and I'm sure that maybe one of those will come out with a positive. But who knows? That's my prediction, and I can be proved wrong. But certainly, when you're putting out energy prices circa 3 or under 3 cents, and you've got great efficiency, that's what you need for a mining company to deliver profits. If you haven't got either of those in abundance, then that's where the struggle is. And it doesn't take much. If you're up to 5 cents a kilowatt hour and your efficiency is over 20, it starts becoming a challenge to actually mine at a profit. And that's just your energy cost. Then you've got to start thinking about, we've got to pay people, we've got to cover all the other G&A costs. And that's a challenge for miners. And they've got to buy machines and they've got to grow. They need capital. They're paying interest payments on the capital that they're borrowing. So it's like a vicious circle for some miners, just to try and grow. But today we've seen them green shoots from Gryphon and Soluna in terms of this last month really performing well. But bear in mind, take it with a pinch of salt that they actually had underperformed significantly before that, and this is just part of their way of recovering some of that position. But yeah, 200% in a month is a nice turnaround.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, you talk about these companies having much more scale, infrastructure, access to power, machines than they did last cycle. You also have to consider the amount of Bitcoin these companies are holding now compared to last cycle. And
Yeah.
this is where it gets really interesting. I know you've got a great visual. We're going to go into the DMG April production update next, and we've got a calculation in there that shows their market cap as a percentage of HODL, nearly 100%. We talked about Marathon earlier in the week, Anthony. So maybe we'll walk through DMG and then we can go into this HODL percentage of market capitalization table.
Yeah, sure. So DMG, produce pretty much very good standard production month after month. Certainly, in the top 6 miners month after month there. Produced 30 Bitcoin, slightly less than March, and we've covered that in previous podcasts. Remember, the difficulty increased by 7%, one day less is another 3%. But they actually managed to grow their total hash rate from 1.9 to 2.1. So that gave them an increase of 11% in hash rate. Now, operational hash rate is what they were able to achieve. That's 1.92. That's a 5% increase. So there you can see that 5% increase in operational hash rate has reduced the amount of lost production, taking into account the difficulty and the actual 30 days only in April as opposed to 31. In terms of efficiency, now they've received some S21s to get to that 2.1, but we haven't been notified if that efficiency has gone down. I would imagine it's certainly starting to move lower because S21s, have a efficiency significantly lower than 23. So when you start adding machines and growing your hash rate, even zero point 0.2 exahash, that's effectively, a 10% change. You could argue that that efficiency is probably closer to 21. We'll try and reach out to DMG, see if we can get confirmation of that. Now, the other interesting fact this month for DMG is they sold 137 Bitcoin. So bear in mind, that's probably, more than 4 months production. And we'll come on to why they sold that shortly. But 137 sold. And we've seen that as a constant theme in April. We've seen the likes of CleanSpark starting to sell. We've seen Riot starting to sell. First time Riot has sold any significant Bitcoin in a long time. CleanSpark also only been selling small amounts month by month, really building that hodl up over 12,000, but they sold over 400. Now we're seeing DMG do it as well. Last month we saw Hive sell a big portion there. Maybe we see some more selling this month. Bitfarms also sold a portion there. CIFR, at one point had over 2,000 Bitcoin, now down to 855. So these miners are using the selling of Bitcoin as a real lever to obviously pay for their operational and capital requirements. Now, in terms of the HODL value, so the DMG have now got 351 Bitcoin as opposed to 458 in March. That's a drop of 23%. Their value is only 13% down because obviously the Bitcoin price at the end of April was 94,000, and at the end of March, I think it was more like 82,000. So nice growth in the Bitcoin price. That helps the fact that when you've got less HODL, your valuations not hit as much because you're adding, more value to the Bitcoin with that increase month on month. And then if we look at market capitalization, I mean, this has changed just this morning. I mean, it was 94% earlier. I think it's closer to 100% now. So, this is what happens in a day when the market opens, share prices change. That can also the price of Bitcoin change as well. So I think it's 94,000 when I did the chart, but I think it's about 100,000. We'll come on to the other chart now, which talks about the HODL over market capitalization for all the miners. And if we look at that there, Marathon are just slightly ahead of DMG with 101%. So their HODL at the moment is valued at 4.6 billion. Their market cap also valued at 4.6 billion. So 101%. The HODL value over market cap. DMG at 100%, and then Hive 78, Hut 74, Riot 66, and CleanSpark 51. So a lot of these miners having a significant amount of HODL compared to market capitalization. And we talked obviously through, why is this different from strategy on the previous podcast? And, if you think about what strategy do differently from the miners is all they do is they buy Bitcoin and they hold it. These miners produce Bitcoin and, they hold or sell or, and that uncertainty obviously doesn't give the market the same confidence in terms of HODL that it has with strategy, which is just purely buying Bitcoin and holding it forever effectively. They haven't sold any Bitcoin in the last 5 years. And, if you listen to Michael Saylor, he's certainly got no intention of selling anything going forward. And he wants to, try and achieve something like 5% of the whole Bitcoin amount that's out there. And we know there's 20 million coins already produced. So he's looking for effectively a million coins to have in the company's treasury as part of their HODL. So more than halfway already achieved in the first 4 years. And most of that was actually achieved in the last 12 months. If you think about, what they've done and what the ETFs have done in that period there, BlackRock and MicroStrategy probably getting close to 400,000 coins in the last 12 months. So if you think strategy can't achieve that 5%, maybe think again.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. No kidding. Yeah, the market definitely rewards that clear, consistent message or narrative with publicly traded companies. And we have seen, I guess, some different strategies going on within the Bitcoin mining sector. Now, the other thing I wanted to just call attention to, aside from Gryphon, Anthony, it's very interesting to me that the largest company and the smallest in terms of their HODL, $4.6 billion with Marathon and then just 33 million with DMG. But both of these companies, 100% of their market cap being attributed to HODL right now. So really the size of these companies doesn't make a big difference in the way these valuations are coming together, Anthony, but quite a contrast when you look at other proxies or even Bitcoin ETFs specifically. Now, we wanted to also give an update on some of the earnings and discussions we have coming up in the next week. Anthony, you made reference to the fact that we just had Jason on not too long ago talking about Q1 earnings. We've got Luxor on tomorrow. Going to be a special talking all about mining and firmware, the importance of firmware or software in the Bitcoin mining ecosystem, what that does and allows these miners to do. We then have IREN with Q3 earnings on the 15th of May, so next week. The day after, we have Bitdeer with Q1 earnings, and then on the Saturday, Bitfarms Q1. Now, I will put a disclaimer out there, Anthony. These dates are the recording dates. We like to upload them, obviously, as soon as possible. Sometimes the companies do want to take a look at them first. So we will try and get these out as closely following the interview as possible, but a very action-packed week coming up and really starting tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind, we're planning these dates as close as we can to the physical earning dates. And these CEOs are, they're busy with lots of media requirements, interviews, TV interviews. And so, it's a real privilege that if we can get them within a few days of the earnings. So they can give an outlook, but there are disclaimers with an outlook. One thing we'll say about, the likes of IREN, the likes of CleanSpark is when they put out an update regarding their hash rate, it's generally come to fruition. They've been really, obviously, last 18 months, been really good at reaching their targets. And we know the market likes miners to reach targets because of the way that some of the shares have been impacted in both directions. So IREN and CleanSpark achieving their targets, was popular, and other miners who didn't quite get targets, felt the brunt of the market as well equally. So looking forward to those interviews, one after the other. And bear in mind, we're talking to Dan. He's in Sydney. I'll be in the Far East. You're in Canada. So trying to arrange these timings so it's convenient for all of us to be on the call at the same time. For me and Dan, that's the 16th of May, not the 15th. But actually, as it's in your calendar, it's the day before. But really looking forward to it. So should be 3 good interviews. Ben's always great fun and equally Bitdeer. I had the privilege of going to meet the senior team at Bitdeer today in Singapore. So, had a really good time with them, got to know more about the business, more about what their thoughts are going forward. And we'll be sure to start, covering more of that when we get Jeff on the podcast next week to talk more about the outlook for their future as well.
Yeah, we certainly will. You look through this roster, you start thinking about the IREN energy price, the Childress expansion, Sweetwater, Bitdeer obviously has the Seal Miner platform, all of their expansion worldwide, the tariff mitigation, and then Bitfarms with that big stronghold acquisition, the Panther Creek property, and some of those assets. A lot of exciting topics and conversation coming up, Anthony. Now, you guys, if you want to stay up to date on all of this stuff, including Miner Madness, the interviews, what's going on in the Bitcoin mining space. The best way to do that, the newsletter, sign up is available on the website here, 100% free to do, you guys. It comes out every Friday. There is information in there that we don't go through on the regular podcast, some charts, data, tables. So a great way to stay up to date on all things power mining analysis related.
Yeah, and we're getting a newsletter out weekly now. Before it was probably every 2 weeks, but now we're doing a weekly newsletter, and we're doing a sort of like a spot on a miner each week. So we're highlighting a miner each week. Putting a lot of information about that miner, putting all the news updates, all the access to interviews, and as you say, a lot of information that we don't always cover via the podcast. So well worth a read. It goes out every Friday, and there's a link clearly on the website where you click onto newsletter and see the link there. Put your email address in, and you get a copy on Friday, the latest one.
Perfect. Now, the other thing you'll notice in that newsletter, Anthony, are some features from Luxor Technology. We wanted to jump over to the Luxor dashboard. 3 topics of interest here today on the podcast. Number one, hash price. So we're back above $51. That's great to see. We've talked about that trend below or above $50 over the last few weeks here. The other one, difficulty adjustment. We just came off a 3.3% decrease. We're now seeing the inverse of that with a projected 5.5% increase. Now, keep in mind, you guys, this is more volatile the further away from that date we are. So we do expect that to obviously change closer to the difficulty adjustment date. The other one we don't talk about a lot, Anthony, transaction fees still coming in at just a fraction of what they're getting in terms of the block reward here. So again, a couple more headwinds on the horizon. The difficulty and potentially these transaction fees not necessarily materializing to maybe what the miners thought they would.
And one more I'd look at there is actually the global hash rate, the 7-day moving average over 908, which is again why difficulty, even though it's at the start of the 14 days, so that's got a long way to go, and that'll change day by day. But getting closer, once we start seeing that 7-day over 1,000, that's again, it becomes a real challenge for miners. It's eating into their production because there's more mining machines on the global hash rate. Every mining machine wants its share, and unless you're growing this month, and we've seen the likes of DMG and we've seen the likes of IREN grow hash rate, so the impacts of the difficulty wasn't as bad to those 2 miners, but it was, a challenge to the many other miners that didn't able to grow hash rate, and that's what you end up doing. We've said all the way along, all the last few years, you've got to try and keep hash rate up with the global hash rate increases to maintain your share of the Bitcoin rewards. And some miners have been able to do that better than others. For others, it's a real challenge. You've got to have the funding to grow, and levers are not as able to be used by some miners than they are from other miners. And going forward, it's still going to be a challenge in Bitcoin mining. Maybe not so much challenge for those that are going into HPC. The market likes HPC. Cost of capital is cheaper for HPC. But Bitcoin mining, because of that volatility and uncertainty, the market's not really aligned to the Bitcoin mining model at the moment. Maybe that changes in the future if we see them Bitcoin prices rise to where all these analysts say they're going to rise to. Maybe the market starts giving more credibility to that type of business.
Yeah, let's certainly hope. Now, in closing here, you guys, we wanted to take a quick look at the Miner Madness 3.0 leaderboard. As you mentioned in the intro, Anthony, some of the smaller miners, Gryphon, Soluna, are really well represented on the leaderboard here. But as we look down the list, you can see a very strong or healthy return just 1 out of 3 months into the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. New leader today, Sega Salander on top there, 92% gain, and still not quite a month into the competition. So literally already doubled the notional investment in the first sort of 3.5 weeks of the competition. And as I say, a great many. If I go to the bottom of the list, even the person in last place, still making a 2.2% profit in the space of 3 or 4 weeks. If you're going to get 2.2% from your bank every month, person at top at 90%, person at bottom at 2.2%. So there's a big span, a lot of different movements in miners there. If we look at the analyst board, I think I might just be slightly ahead of Penny at the moment. I'm in 24th place, he's in 30th. Then we've got a Gripper Investments, and you're in 4th place at the moment, Bryce. But it's actually quite a close competition there. quite a lot of the analysts in the top 100. Obviously looking to get closer to where I am, and I've been dropping off lately. So, hopefully, Bitfarms, IREN, and Soluna can pick up some more and give me a little bit of a gap to Penny. Need to finish above him at the end of the competition, but yeah, it's a good competition so far. Plenty of fun and plenty of people going to the website, checking out where they are. It's good to see the traffic coming through there as well, so that's really good. You can find out your live position. Just go to the website on the leaderboard, put your name in, and it'll tell you where you are currently in a position there, unless you're on the front page, and it'll show the front page immediately. But if you can't see it on the front page, pop your name into the search engine, and it'll tell you where you are straight away.
There you go, you guys. So we'll wait and see how the market closes out today. Bitcoin's still in that $97,000 range. Let us know in the comment section below how you're doing in Miner Madness 3.0 and your top pick in the sector right now, you guys. If you're still watching, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. We'll see you back here tomorrow with our Luxor interview.